Hi guys, so I'm gonna read All Star Comics number 3, the part 2. So I should have did each video an individual segment. That's what I should have did. I'm gonna read all the requests. I'm gonna read all the requests you guys sent me. For the 200 subscribers, someone requested me to do Nova number 1, and then I'll read Superboy number 1, I think, after that. But Guarding Eris, a Johnny Thunder story. Knock, knock went Johnny Thunder's knuckles against the door of Daisy Darling's house. The sound of Daisy's laughter drifted out to Johnny as he stood waiting on the porch, had in one hand a bouquet of roses in the other. "Oh, Edgar," Daisy's voice dripped honey. "You do say the sweetest things." Next minute, Daisy's smiling face was in the doorway, but at sight of Johnny, the smile vanished. "I told you," she said darkly, "that you're not welcome here." "But Daisy—" "Don't argue, Johnny. You only lie," broke in Daisy. "You're just not like Edgar Eggwell. You can't help it, Johnny, if you haven't any brains." "Well, I like that," sputtered Johnny. "Let's have a look at this Eggwell." Johnny pushed his way into the living room, still holding Daisy's roses. He saw lounging on the sofa, his feet up to the coffee table, a long, thin, well-dressed man. At sight of Johnny, he raised his well-shaped eyebrows and smiled scornfully. "Whose is your nosy friend?" he asked in a lazy voice. "Never mind who I am," snapped Johnny. "Who you say you were?" So he said, "Who do you say you were?" "Oops, say you again." Those were the magic words that gave Johnny his power. You see, when Johnny was a baby, he was kidnapped by Badesians who performed a ceremony, giving Johnny a strange power. All he needed to do is say the words "say you," which sounds like "say you" in English, and his every wish is always obeyed for an hour after. Johnny's private thunderbolt seized to that. "I am Edgar Eggwell, Jr.," replied the man. "I am here to escort Miss Darling to a dance." Edgar walked over to Johnny, calmly took one of the roses and placed it on his lapel. Then he surveyed himself in the mirror. "My, you look handsome," said Daisy. "All the girls will be jealous. Goody." "I wish it was poison ivy," muttered Johnny. Johnny made a wish. His thunderbolt struck the rose just as Edgar sniffed it and changed it to poison ivy. Immediately, Edgar's nose turned red and began to itch. Edgar was horrified and started to groan. "Oh, I've got poison ivy." Daisy was so humiliated she chased both Edgar and Johnny out of the house, and gave poor Johnny Thunder a look that cut him to the quick. As soon as they were out of the house, Edgar stretched his long legs and chased Johnny for blocks, but at last Johnny dodged into a hotel and shook him off. "Daisy's really angry now," thought Johnny. "I guess I don't know how to handle her. I had to practice." Then walking along the street, Johnny saw two men carrying a mannequin out of the rear exit of a department store to a waiting truck. "That's what I need," thought Johnny, "a mannequin. I'll make believe it's Daisy and practice pretty things to say like that Eggwell feller tells her." Johnny tapped one of the men on the shoulder. "I'd like to buy that mannequin," he began. "Ain't for sale, beat it," the man said nervously. "But I'll pay you well," Johnny persisted. "I really need the mannequin. You see, my girl Daisy is—" "Sign off, windbag. Get going, Mike," said the man. "Who you calling a windbag?" said Johnny, his dander up. "You're a couple of windbags." To Johnny's astonishment, in place of the men he had been arguing with were two big round bags of wind. The bags bounced around like a couple of balloons. Johnny's attention was caught by the cries coming from the mannequin. Discovering it was hollow, he opened it up, and out stepped a beautiful but frightened young lady. "I'm Teresa Drew, the heiress," she told Johnny. "These men were trying to kidnap me." Teresa took Johnny home and introduced her to her father, a wealthy oil magnate. "You're just the man we've been looking for," Mr. Drew told Johnny. Once before, Teresa was almost kidnapped. Will you be her bodyguard for $100 a week? Johnny said, gosh, yes, you take it. So that day, Johnny Thunder started making rounds with the socially prominent Teresa Drew. He escorted her to theaters, shopping, social functions. Teresa and her new escort were the talk of the town. Once Johnny and Teresa were going to theater when they met Daisy Darling and Edgar Edwell. Johnny started to say hello, but Daisy just looked the other way and said, coming, Edgar. Johnny's job was peaceful for a couple of weeks, and one day as he and Teresa got out of a taxi, a couple of men came up behind them with guns in their pockets and ordered them to walk as directed. A few minutes later, they found themselves in a room on the 5th floor of the Hotel Chase. Okay, boss, here they are, called one of the men. A tall, lazy-mannered man entered the room. He looked at Johnny, and a queer smile crossed his face. It was Edgar Edwell, Daisy's wealthy financier. Nice mess we're in, grumbled Teresa to Johnny. I've relied on you. You shouldn't say things like that, said Johnny. I'll save you. Edgar and his men twirled the gun in their hands and smiled grimly. Now wait a minute, said Johnny nervously. It ain't fair for you guys to have your guns. You had to throw them out of the window. To the gunmen's own amazement, they went out of the window and dropped their guns out. I don't know why I'm doing this, said Edwell, glaring at Johnny. But we will still get rid of you and collect money from old man Drew for his daughter's release. That's what you think, you snake, said Johnny. Johnny called him a snake, so Edgar Edwell was suddenly transformed into a huge coiling black snake. As it wriggled closer and closer to Johnny, the terrified men tumbled out of the doorway and, ignoring the elevator, scrambled down the stairs, Johnny after them. In the lobby of the hotel, they ran into the arms of the police. Gosh, I'm glad you boys arrived, Johnny panted. Come upstairs and I'll deliver the heiress, safe and sound. But when they reached room 5113, they heard screams. The cops knocked the door down, and then one of them stepped back and grinned. Sure, it's the Irish lass who tips us off, he said, winking to Johnny. Teresa Drew was sitting on the floor. She had a black eye, her hair was disheveled, and her dress torn to shreds. Glowering down at her was a furious Daisy Darling. And that'll teach you to monkey around, my boyfriend, Daisy was saying. Johnny stared in bewilderment. But what are you doing here? He asked. I saw those men force you into the hotel. Then the guns dropped out of the window, and I knew which room you were in. As I called the cops. As for her, but Daisy, Johnny, maybe you haven't much brains, cut in Daisy softly, but I do like you better than that old Edgar Edwell anyway. The end. And it's this advertisement for Johnny Thunder and every month in Flash Comics. And be sure to see the next issue of All-Star Comics for announcement of the next quarterly, like Superman and Batman. Yeah, I'm not sure what comic that was. I don't know what they're talking about with that. There's Hop Harrigan. That's a really obscure character. He actually got a movie in the 1940s. I've said that, I think, a few times. But I can't believe, Plastic Man or the Teen Titans, they've never got a movie, Robin's never got a movie, Nightwing's never got a movie. But Hop Harrigan is a movie, and nobody even knows who that is. It's kind of ridiculous. You probably all know that I am called the Atom because I'm so small, and I'm the only one of us who does not have supernatural powers in everyday life. Well, no, the Sandman doesn't have supernatural. Yes, the Sandman doesn't have supernatural powers, but I am Al Pratt, a quiet sophomore at Calvin College. Because of my small size, I am kidded quite a bit by my bigger fellow students. It has been hard to take this razzing without revealing that I am the Atom. Here comes that half-pint, Pratt. Let's have some more fun with him. Then there is that classmate of mine, Mary James, who doesn't know I'm the Atom, and as a result she treats me just like everybody else does. But Someday I'll make her think as much as Al Pratt as she does of the atom. But I was telling a story, not my life's history, wasn't I? Well, one day, I was up on the hills on a class geology expedition when, gee, that plane must be out of gas, it's landing. I think I'll pop down and see if I can help. Wow, what a bunch of thugs. They look like the Brooklyn Murder Trust. Okay, on your toes, you guys, we ain't got all day. That armored car will be here in 5 minutes. Now get this, you dimwits. The gold won't be in the armored car, but in the canvas-top truck following it, understand? Hold up the truck, do away with the driver and guard, then carry out the plans. I'll wait here at the plane, get going. And the atom will be going along, too. There goes the armored car, and here comes the truck. Get out into the road, quick. As I watched, one of the crooks stretched himself out into the middle of the road, the truck stopped. Hey, what's up? Careful, Jim, this might be a trap. That's right, Boy Scouts, it is. Reach for the stars. Okay, soldiers, out of them monkey suits. We need 'em. In fact, we're going to be you guys for a while. I don't get this. 2 of them had changed into the soldiers' uniforms, while the others are climbing back into the back of the truck. There's more to this than a mere hold-up. I wonder what. I'll never find out what they're up to by staying here, so I'll go along with them. I leaped down on top of the speeding truck, but somehow I missed my footing and was thrown off. Then everything went black. I suppose if it weren't for my strong constitution, I would have been a goner. Meanwhile, a few miles away at one of the gold caches of the U.S. government, that shipment of gold should be here any minute now. Yeah, and that's quite a trick the Major uses to ensure safe delivery of the gold, sending an armored car first as a decoy, while the gold comes behind an ordinary truck. Here comes the armored car, and the truck's right behind it. Just another safe delivery, I guess. Well, I'd better get these gates open. Okay, fellows, the fireworks starts pretty soon. Have your gats ready. All right, men, start shifting that gold into the vault. We'll shift the gold, but not into the vault. Get 'em, boys. Before the startled soldiers can move, the crooks leap out of the truck and disarm them. Okay, boys, tie 'em up and then get that gold out of the vault and into the truck. Gosh, there must be $1 million in this haul. More than that, Mike. This'll be the biggest haul in history. Some brain the boss has, eh? We're all loaded. Let's go. Slick, keep a gun on the guards at the gate as we go, just in case. The guards at the gate suspected nothing, and the crooks roll out with the truckload of gold. While I was still laying out cold at the front of the embankment, a slim figure picked her way through the rocks to where I was lying. It was Mary James, who was also on the geology expedition. I should find some good specimens where the rain has washed down this embankment. Good heavens, what is that? Why, it's the atom. He's dead. Just like a woman, she was curious. Okay. No, he's breathing, thank heaven, but now I can see who he is, and he'll never find... No, I found out. Sorry, but I woke up just in time, didn't I? Oh, say, Mr. Atom, where did you get that pick? The pick? Oh, I thought I'd need it, so I brought it from a little fellow I saw sleeping up on the hill. Why? Well, I knew that it belonged to Al Pratt. So he's sleeping, is he? When he's supposed to be getting rock specimens for the geology class, he would. You don't seem to like this Al Pratt very much. What's the matter with him? Oh, I guess he's all right, but he's such a weak sister at times that he gets in my hair. Just as we reached the top of the bank, I saw something that made me stop short. Hurry, get behind those trees. What's the matter? Yes, it's them. Do you want to be of some help to me? Surely, but who are they? I haven't time to explain now. I want you to run over to that house down the road, telephone the police station, and have them send some men out here in a hurry, okay? Of course, but... No buts now. The time is getting short. Run along. I've got to get that curve before they do. You boys gave me too much of a tumble when last we met, but this time will be different. Again I leaped onto the top of the speeding truck. Made it, thanks to this pick. Now to get inside. Hello, boys, do you mind, my company? Hey, what's this? So you resent my company, sweethearts? Well, isn't that too bad? Gee, you must be giving the boys in back a tough ride. Listen to them bouncing around and hollering. Let 'em yell. We gotta get back to the plane. At the plane, the boss was waiting. At last, I thought they'd never get here, but I knew that plane was too perfect to miss. It was a pushover, boss. Come on, you monkeys, let's get out of here and get the gold into the plane. You should have seen the looks on their faces when I leaped out. Surprised to see me, boys? What in the... Who's this guy? Come back here, you. It isn't polite to run out on your guests, especially when your guests bring you such presents as this. Well, Mary James, Al Pratt did get some specimens with his geology pick, didn't he? And he discovered some gold. Then, leaving on one of my cards I left, well, little one, best be off. Here comes Mary with the gendrames. Holy smoke, what a shambles. There, the atom has done it again. Just think, Miss James, he saved the U.S. government almost $20 million. I think that's $20 million. Wonderful, isn't he? Oh, did he have to wake up just as I was about to find out who he is? Say, that was a swell story, Adam. Now, let's hear from... Say, is this Justice Society? How'd you get in? Only the finest in the country can come in here. You must have crashed too, huh? Well, come on, is this the Justice Society or not? I got a message for them. Okay, son, this is the Justice Society. I'll take the message. Gee whiz, the Flash, I should have known you. It's from the FBI in Washington. He wants to know if a representative of the Justice Society can come down there and discuss something of vital importance. From the FBI chief? It must be important if it's from him. It has to do with the welfare of the entire country, that's how important it is. I suggest the Flash go down there to see what it's all about. He can get back there and back before we break up our meeting. The Flash it is. Right. Hop to it, Flash. Good luck. Okay, fellows, if you say so, I'll be on my way. I'll be back in a dash like the Flash. While we're waiting for the Flash, let's hear from the Green Lantern. As you all know, he can streak through the air, walk through walls, is immune to metals, and has other supernatural gifts to use by means of his willpower when he wears his potent ring, made of part of a mysterious Green Lantern. Thank you for the introduction, Johnny, but there's one thing you didn't mention. This ring must touch the lantern every 24 hours to retain its potency. I used the ring to help stamp out evil, and subsequently I became known as the Green Lantern. This story started when a series of major crimes broke out in the city. Banks were robbed, stores looted, citizens murdered. The police seemed helpless, and people began to talk about the inefficiency of the department under Police Commissioner Mason. So this might have been actually, I know the original Green Lantern was in Gotham City. Yeah, Alan Scott, the Green Lantern, I'm pretty sure was in Gotham. So I don't know, you might be in this. Something's got to be done. Mason should be fired. What we need is a new police commissioner. A public reformer appeared making speeches that stirred up to the public. And I say again, what we need is a new police commissioner. You ought to be the guy, Lacey. Hooray, Lacey for police commissioner. Unknown to the public, there was a secret meeting of men who were working behind the political scene. We got the boys mixing in the crowds, yelling, "Down with Mason." Well, are you making progress? It's in the bag, and after that night the editors of many newspapers received mysterious phone calls. Mike, get your camera and hop down to the Commissioner Mason's place. I just got a reliable tip-off that something's up. It sounds hot, so hop to it. I'm on my way. When the cameramen arrived at Mason's, they found the police surrounding the place. What's up? Quiet, we just got a tip that Mason is getting a payoff tonight. We're trying to catch him red-handed. The cameraman quickly got a vantage point and then, "Here you are, Mason, take this." Flash bulbs. Cameraman, what is this? Well, what is this? You're finished, Mason. So you're getting your cut tonight, eh? Look, money. This certainly proves Mason was protecting the racketeers in this city. Mason was quickly brought before the court and questioned. You mean to say you never received any money before? I never took a bribe in my life, Your Honor. Somebody wants me out of the way. I'm being framed. And you don't know who gave you this money to give Commissioner Mason? Yeah, I got a call to meet a certain guy in a certain place, or meet a guy in a certain place. He gave me the money in the dark. I never seen his face. I just did me job, that's all. While Mason was detained pending formal trial, the Citizens Committee called the mayor. We demand that you replace Mason with an honest man as police commissioner. The people's choice is Lacey. Very well, the people want Lacey, they shall have him. With Lacey as police commissioner, all crimes mysteriously ceased. Not a major crime since Lacey was put in charge. Those crooks are certainly afraid of him, all right. Though this was true, gambling dens increased, minor rackets flourished, yet all was done quietly without attracting public attention. What number you playing today? 721. And my natural identity is Alan Scott, radio engineer. I work at the Apex Broadcasting Company, and there I heard much talk about Mason. Whoever thought that Mason was a crook? I don't believe it. He was framed. If the Green Lantern were to investigate, he'd find out the real truth. What do you think, Alan? I shouldn't be surprised. That night, I put on my costume, and as I touched the ring to the lamp, I suddenly felt a strange, invigorating force course through my body. I was ready once more to step into my other role as the Green Lantern, and I shall shed my light upon dark evil, for the dark things cannot stand the light of the Green Lantern. Stepping to the window, I launched myself into space. I must have made a weird sight as I streaked through the sky, silhouetted against the moon. Moments later, I alighted in the room of Paul Pryor, famous newspaper columnist and radio commentator. What? That costume? You're the Green Lantern. Listen, Pryor, there's no time to lose. You don't believe that Mason is guilty of accepting graft, do you? Mason, no. Of course not. Why? I don't either. Now, tomorrow I want you to say this in your column. Listen. The next day, Pryor's column carried this message. Paul Pryor's column. I will disclose tonight on my radio program exactly how Commissioner Mason was framed. I will name names, and those who irregularly had better be thinking up excuses. And again, behind the scenes of the gang world, a man gives orders. No doubt you read Paul Pryor's column today. He knows too much. He must not talk to our radio on his radio program tonight. I get it, boss. That guy ain't gonna talk to nobody no more. Later, as Pryor went to answer a knock on his door, What do you want? Nothing much, only your hide. Ain't Joe the Kidder. You talk too much, Pryor. I'm gonna give it to you right. Huh? Giving away something, Joe. How generous of you. It's the Green Lantern. Come here. Just like two castanets. I hit the other thug once. He stood there with a stupid expression on his face and then folded up like an accordion. Now, who sent you here? Who's your boss? Talk. I don't know. I won't talk, eh? Look deep into the light of this ring. As I concentrated my will, the ring seemed to grow in a swell of light. Look deep into the light. Deep, deep. It grew until it seemed to crowd the very room. Talk, else the ring will crush you. No, I'll talk. I'll tell you. Naturally, the ring wasn't that gigantic. I merely hypnotized him into thinking so. It worked all right because he told me everything he knew. Phew, what a story. I've got to tell the public tonight. Wow. You better get to the studio right away. I'm going after this fellow's boss. Shortly after, I stood on the porch that surrounded the boss's house, but I had already been detected. Somebody on the porch, bring him in, Ape. They're sure ding, boss. Next thing I knew, something caught me on the back of my head and suddenly felt myself falling. I mean, struck with a wooden club. A non-metal is the only thing against me which the ring does not protect me. When I woke, I saw a face I expected to see. It was Commissioner Lacey. Well, not non-metal. Anything made of wood is what the original Green Lantern's weakness was. So anything made of wood would, instead of the Silver Age Green Lantern was yellow, the color yellow he was weak to, and the Golden Age Green Lantern was weak to wood. Awake, are you? So you're the famous Green Lantern. And you're the infamous boss that Mason framed because it suited your evil purpose to be commissioner yourself. Yes, Lacey, I know everything. And incidentally, your little plot to kill Pryor failed. He's at the studio now, about to expose you. I'll stop him. I'm the police commissioner. I'll stop that broadcast. I'll go there myself. Ape, keep an eye on this guy. Slug him if he tries anything. Sure thing, boss. He looks like Jason Voorhees. As soon as Lacey was gone, I turned the green light on my ring on the ropes that bound me. And soon after, the last of the ropes that bound me had fallen to the floor. Huh? Before the thug realized what was happening, I struck him with all my strength. For a second, he gaped at me, wall-eyed, and then snagged to the ground like a melting wax dummy. Phew, he's got a jaw like cement. A moment later, I felt the ground leave my feet as I arrowed up into the air. No time to lose. Lacey must be at the radio station by now. Everything is working on schedule. As I approached the station, I entered the fastest way through the wall. Funny how much it was like diving through a cloud. Inside, Lacey was already at Pryor's side. And now your reporter will give us the inside story of Paul Pryor. You're under arrest for withholding information from the police. Even as Pryor spoke, I flashed my ring to Lacey's face and concentrated. Lacey, you're just the man I've been wanting to see. Why don't you tell the audience the way you got your job? Gladly. As a public reformer, I shall be glad to do so. As Lacey spoke, I concentrated on my willpower until the sweat stood out of my brow, and so when Mason was found guilty, I feel so strange. Mason was framed. I did it. I framed him so I could get him out of the way. My ring did it. It made Lacey tell the truth in spite of himself. Why? What am I saying? I must be crazy. They're coming for me. As Lacey raised his gun, my ray licked out. Don't come near me. I'll shoot. Huh? The bullets, they won't come out. Click, click. I willed it so, Lacey. Well, I've done my job, thanks to the help of Paul Pryor. Ladies and gentlemen, the Green Lantern. Yes, I said the Green Lantern was here in the studio. And the next day I was back at the studio as Alan Scott and talking to Irene. Alan Scott, where were you all of yesterday? I went to see I went to a movie, saw a gangster picture, all about getting into public office, nice picture, but those things don't happen in real life. Well, that's my story, of course. Lacey couldn't know that Paul Pryor and I had planned it all that way. It was the end of Lacey and incidentally the end of his story. Boy, that was something. I wouldn't mind having that ring of yours for a while. I could use it on a couple of fellas I know. Say, here comes the flash. Blazes, I was fast. Well, I got the lowdown, gentlemen. Wait till you hear it. It's tremendous. Come on, spill it. I'm dying of curiosity. Of course, I had no trouble getting in to see the FBI chief. And incidentally, he's one swell guy. Well, he wants all of us members of the Justice Society to come down and see him, all together. I told him I thought next Tuesday night would be okay. Is that all right? Can you all make it? Suits me fine. Sure, that's swell. I wonder what we're going to learn in Washington. I don't know, but I sure aim to be there and find out. I have a hunch something big is about to break. It must be big if they want the help of the entire Justice Society. What a surprise somebody somewhere is going to get. Just a last word, boys and girls, before I leave the rest of the fellows. Be sure to read the announcement of our editors on the next page. So, shit, sorry about that. Thanks a million, boys and girls, for the very wonderful reception you gave to All-Star Comics Quarterly number 1 and number 2, both of which were complete sellouts. Hope you have enjoyed reading this issue of All-Star Comics as much as we have enjoyed getting it out to you. And we know that this issue will be a sellout too. As a result, in the very near future, we are going to turn All-Star Comics into a bi-monthly instead of a quarterly. That is, it will come out every 2 months instead of every 3 months, so watch for that announcement of the next issue. Will appear in the February issues of Flash Comics All-American, blah blah blah. In the next issue of All-Star Comics, you will follow the adventures in one big episode where they work hand in hand with the chief of the FBI in Washington. That was J. Edgar Hoover back then. And you know you will get even a greater kick out of this next issue than you got out of this one. So yeah, that's the end of that issue. Yeah, it's a very long comic. If I how much? Yeah, if I uploaded this, like all of this, it would have been an hour and 30 minutes. So what I should have did was upload it into segments, but I didn't do that. I should have did like a segment for the Flash and like Green Lantern. I should have did that, but I didn't. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoy this video. If you could like, comment, and subscribe, that'd be appreciated. Again, I'm going to do the Nova and Superboy and Superman stories. I'm going to do that. Those were requests. I'm going to do them. And I also thank you all so much for 100 or 200 subscribers. Yeah, thank you all so much for that. And I'll see you guys later.